Welcome back to Past TV. I'm Blaine Barton, Senior IT Pro Evangelist with Microsoft. And with me today, I have Mr. David DeWitt. How you doing, Mister?
Hi, nice seeing you.
Yeah, Technical Fellow, Microsoft, Jim Gray Systems Labs. So a little bit about yourself. You joined Microsoft as a Technical Fellow in March of 2008. We're a professor at the University of Wisconsin-Madison, right? Correct?
Right, that's right.
You a cheesehead?
I'm not a cheesehead.
No, what's your team?
I'm a Patriots fan.
Oh.
I'm not even a Badger fan, which is pretty bad for a faculty member.
Gotcha.
I went to graduate school at Michigan, so I'm a big Michigan fan.
All right.
My father-in-law was head basketball coach at Michigan. So
Nice.
I am not a Badgers fan, and
Nice.
I watch Packers, but I root for the Patriots.
There you go. Well, I live in Tampa, and we have the Buccaneers. We won't talk about that, will we? Okay. You served as chair of the Computer Science Department at Wisconsin, also a member of the National Academy of Engineering, American Academy of Arts and Sciences, and you have a prestigious ACM Software Systems Award working on and pioneering the parallel relationship database systems. Wow, and 120 technical publications.
Well, I've had really good graduate students that have worked for me over the years. I think I'm just really a manager. I have great people working for me at Microsoft, and I have great people to work with, both in Seattle and Aliso Viejo, where we have our PDW team. So I think my successes are really the successes of others, and I've just been a lucky manager over the years.
That's
so
fantastic.
I really, it's really, the students are always really the smart ones. So
Well, we appreciate you here at Microsoft.
well, it's great to be here. I've had a great time.
So
at
let's
Microsoft.
get into some of these questions. So you're working for Microsoft Jim Gray's Systems Lab. Do you mind, do we talk about Jim Gray and how the lab got its name?
Sure.
All right.
So Jim was really a true pioneer in the field. He was a graduate student at Berkeley, the first graduate student in computer science at Berkeley, got his PhD, went to work for IBM. About the time that Ted Codd first wrote the paper on relational database systems, and he was working at Yorktown, which is outside New York City, and he wanted to move to California, and his manager said, no, I don't want you to go work on this database stuff. And Jim quit on the spot, drove to California, went to work at IBM San Jose, and was one of the pioneers of the System R project. And Jim became one of my mentors as I was a young faculty member. He advised me at one point to quit working on parallel database systems because didn't think we could ever make them work. I proved him wrong. And he just became a really good friend over the years. Then about 7 or 8 years ago, he was sailing off the coast of San Francisco where he lived. And he was sailing out by the Farallones, and it was lost at sea. And no trace was ever found of him. Presumably his boat sunk at sea, but that's a really big water way out, 25 miles off the coast of San Francisco. Huge loss for the database community. He invented many of the key techniques we use to run transaction processing systems. I actually have a picture of him in my keynote tomorrow when I talk a little bit about Hackathon. So.
Okay, excellent. Yeah, great story. So you're always talking about technology in general, and now you're working on this thing called the specific problem, right? SQL Server.
Yes.
So can you tell us a little bit, how's that different for you?
Well, I think that's been one of the great things about my career is that for many years I was an academic, I got to write papers, I had a wonderful academic career, I couldn't have asked for more. And then I was ready to retire, and this chance to come to work for Microsoft came along. And fortunately it didn't involve moving to Seattle, because Seattle has really terrible weather, even worse than Madison weather in my mind. And I've had an opportunity now at Microsoft to take some of the ideas I'd done in academia, some of the ideas we've developed, and actually see them ship as product. And it's been a wonderful experience. People have really been welcoming. We've done some great work around the PDW product line, around SQL Azure, around Hackathon, which will in-memory OLTP, which we'll talk about some more tomorrow. It's just been a fantastic career, and I've been really, really lucky. And Microsoft has made this opportunity for me to finish up my career this way.
Yeah, it's amazing to see the technologies today. I'm working in Azure as well, and Windows Azure with PaaS, or Platform as a Service, and spinning up SQL in a matter of 5 minutes and have a database up and running, or infrastructure as a service where I can go to the gallery and spin up a full-blown version of Windows Server with SQL Server on top of that. Technology has really advanced greatly in our lifetimes, at least.
That's right. And I'm actually a paying SQL Azure customer. I actually I manage a database for a small swimming pool that I swim at.
Okay.
I actually used to manage SQL Server myself. I got hooked on the cloud. I moved my database to SQL Azure.
Awesome.
I don't have to manage it anymore.
Right.
And actually, it goes on my American Express card and not my corporate card. So.
Yeah, well, there you go. You don't have to worry about the hardware, right? You don't have to worry about replacing hardware and backing things. Well, backup is a traditional best practice, but just having to worry about that hardware and just keep that infrastructure to Microsoft.
And I still think there's a place for appliances and a place for box product, but I think as time will tell, we're in the midst of a huge technology shift, and it's hard to imagine what things will be like in 20 or 30 years. It's really amazing.
It is. What are some of the best innovations, coming from your research? What's been the most exciting for you?
Well, as part of the SQL Server PDW effort, we got to build and ship this extension that allows us to query data that sits in Hadoop, and this was something that was inspired by a project that was started at Yale, and I said, wow, it's really amazing if you could have the SQL Server T-SQL experience and still be able to manage and query unstructured data in Hadoop. And developing the technologies, taking them into the product, through the product cycle, that's been, and then continuing to push the technology going forward, both into the cloud and maybe eventually into the box product. I think the combination of extending the world of relational data, unstructured data, I've really found super exciting.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Can you give us a little preview about what's tomorrow's keynote?
Absolutely.
Can you give us a little sneak preview? This is just past TV. We got viewers out there who want to know about what's coming.
Well, hang on to your hats, okay? Yeah. So Quentin gave
Strap yourselves in.
Quentin talked a little about the new feature in SQL Server 2014 called in-memory OLTP. Okay. Code name for that project was Hackathon, a name I still really love. And Quentin and Tracy set me up for tomorrow just perfectly, because I'm going to open up the covers on how Hackathon works. My goal is to educate everybody in the audience on how it differs fundamentally from the main relational on-disk product that we've known to love over the years. So I'm going to go deep, 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 deep. And I hope I don't go so deep that they never invite me back, because I love giving these keynotes. They take months and months of work, but I do nothing else but work on the deck. I've been fortunate to have a co-author, Rima Nemi, who has just been a great asset, and we worked so hard on this particular talk. I hope they like it. But we'll go deep into the in-memory OLTP product tomorrow, or Hackathon if you prefer that name. And hopefully the audience will find it a worthwhile keynote.
Yeah, and like my grandfather told me, it's not that people plan to fail, it's that they fail to plan. And it shows the planning and all that you bring to the table when you do these keynotes, right?
Part of the problem is the bloggers. The bloggers say too nice of things. I wish they'd say nastier things. The expectations are sometimes very high, and it's a wonderful audience. And I'm really thrilled to be invited back and give another talk.
Yeah. So one last question here. When you go to hire someone, right? When you go to hire someone for Microsoft Jim Gray Systems Labs, what do you look for in that candidate?
I look for someone who has creativity and willing to work hard, willing to think outside the box. I tend to hire mostly people with PhDs, but I do have one master's person that works for me. I'm looking for people that really want to try to do something different and really willing to show a degree of creativity that maybe some people don't have. But I'm looking for creative individuals is the primary thing.
Well, excellent. Well, David, it's been a pleasure.
Oh, thank you very much. I've enjoyed it.
Joining Past TV. Make sure you go to Twitter and that hashtag Past TV. And once again, thank you for being on the show.
Thank you very much for having me. Enjoyed it.
All right. Thank
you.
So next we got Cisco coming up for an interview. So we're gonna make a transition to those folks. We've got Frank and Gary from Cisco. How you guys doing? Get the mics on. Yeah, we're going to do a little interview here. Once again, if you were talking about Windows Azure earlier, if you'd like to try out Azure, you can go to http://try-azure. That's aka/ms/try Azure and get your subscription. How you doing?
Hi.
Frank.
Hey,
Gary. Cisco's in the house. So fantastic partner of ours. So welcome. First of all, I just want to say thank you for being a part of the interview today. We kind of lassoed Gary in here to the conversation, so I think it's kind of a dynamic trio here for the conversation. So first off, tell us, as a partner, tell our viewers out there on PASS TV about your products and or solutions that are most relevant to the PASS community.
So our server system for SQL Server is really unparalleled in the industry. It really is a great solution for SQL Server. It can help you get your workloads for SQL Server into production quickly. It can help with migrating those workloads and consolidating them either virtually or in a bare metal fashion very easily and efficiently.
So what kind of models are those as far as the hardware pieces, the software pieces, combination of both?
A combination of both. We have a great management model, a centralized management model that allows for the deployment of servers into production and the repurposing of servers within 5 to 7 minutes. So if a SQL Server should go down, for instance, we can reintroduce that SQL Server back into production in 5 to 7 minutes, which is really pretty much unfounded in the industry today. Another great thing about the server system is that we have a converged infrastructure that allows for ample I/O. So we can provide up to 256 PCIe devices per server, whether those are NICs or HBAs. So if you're either consolidating bare metal or in a virtualization type of manner, we can provide ample I/O with dedicated devices for all of those workloads.
Excellent. If somebody wanted to get started or just like research that technology, where would you point them to?
So I'd say come over to booth 300 and talk to us.
All right.
Come to my presentation. That's going to be.
It's live on the internet. They're going to have a hard time. But if you were here at PASS Summit, you'd be at the booth. I know that. Go ahead.
Right. So I would actually go to cisco.com/go/UCS or cisco.com/go/Microsoft to get all of that information. If you are here, I would definitely come to my presentation, which is tomorrow between 1:30 and 2:45 in 202 AB. It's DBA 211.
And I'll try to stop by.
All right, great.
And pay a visit. Gary, how you doing? You waiting patiently over there?
Yeah, doing great.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about Cisco's perspective as far as engaging with the PASS community. So, what does Cisco do, like feet on the street, to talk to our community?
Sure. So we're really happy to be here at the PASS Summit and to engage directly with the SQL Server community. But this is really just the beginning of a relationship for us. So we are kicking off a new collaborative effort where we will be engaging with the community throughout the year. So we will be attending SQL Saturdays and be sending our technical experts like Frank to go out and talk directly face-to-face with the SQL Server community. Okay. We'll also be working with one of your virtual chapters, and we'll be sponsoring a virtual chapter and look to work engage through that way as well. And then working with the leadership, the executive board and the chapters around the world to be able to make sure that we're engaged, we're talking, and that we're supporting each other.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic. Well, thank you for joining PASS TV. I'll be looking for your booth and check it out. And with that, any last comments?
Thank you for having us. It's a pleasure to be here. It's a great conference.
Ladies and gentlemen, Cisco, Frank Chicalis, and Gary Serta. So welcome and thank you very much for being here.
Thank you.
Hey, thanks for having us.
You betcha. Anytime.
We'll see you.
We're going to move to a commercial now, and don't forget to follow us on Twitter at #PassTV.